Hello and namaste everyone. Today I'm here with the interesting Rook Endgame of World Cup 2019. After the loss of Nihal Sarin, only two Indians are left in World Cup 2019, Vidit Gujrathi and Hare Krishna. Today I'm here with one of the game of Vidit Gujrathi versus Wesley So. An interesting positional Rook Endgame of Wesley So and Vidit Gujrathi, where Wesley So slowly gains some advantage in the Rook endgame and he win the game. Let's see how a draw position of Rook endgame was converted to win by Wesley So. How could he made slightly positional advantage into a win endgame? The game here was started with d4 and here Wesley So is white. Wesley So is from USA, or Super Grandmaster from USA, and Vidit Gujrathi is black, who is from India. The first move that was played by Wesley So is d4. d4 is the first move that was played. d4, knight f6 was reply. Knight to f3, d5. c4 was played. Queen's Gambit e6, Queen's Gambit decline was played. Knight to c3, bishop to b4, pinning the knight. Queen a4 check, attacking the bishop, and it is defended by knight to c6, e3, and after castle, normal opening was played. Queen c2, queen back to c2, rook e8, bishop to d2, and a6 was played, and then after a3 was played, bishop back to d6, rook d1, bishop d6, s3, h6, then after c5, letting black bishop to go backward. Bishop to f8 was then played. Knight e5, knight takes e5, pawn takes e5, knight e4, after knight takes e4, d takes e4, bishop a5 was played. Why not queen into e4? What happens if queen into e4? If queen into e4, then bishop into c5 is coming up. That's why here queen into e4 was not played. Bishop a5 was played, then queen c8, then after g4 was played, and bishop to c6, protecting the pawn on the e4, bishop g2 attacking the pawn on e4, rook d8 trying to extend, rook into d8, queen into d8, again there is pin on the c7, bishop into e4, bishop into e4, queen into e4, and bishop into c5, just trying to extend, queen into b7, rook b8. Seems like white is a pawn up, but it is written immediately after queen into c7, queen into c7, bishop into c7, then after rook b2, the pawn on a3 is hanging and cannot be protected. If a4, then rook is coming on the a2 square, and if a5, then bishop is coming to the b5 check, and bishop takes a5 is coming up. That's why here castle was played, and then after rook c2, what happens if immediate captures by a3? If immediate captures, then rook on f1 would be coming on a1, and the pawn on a6 will be hanging, which will be leading white a pawn up. That's why here immediate bishop into a3 was not played, and rook to c2 was played. Now here bishop into e3 is coming up. If anything like a4 is played, then bishop into e3 is coming up, and if f into e3, then after rook into c7 is there. That's why here bishop to d6 was played, bishop into d6, e into d6, and pawn is back again by rook to d2. Till now the position is equal, everything is equal, and pawn is also equal. Now rook to b1, rook into d6, and it's equal again. All the pawns are equal, and there's rook on the board with the king on g1 square and g8 square. Still the position is totally equal. We'll be looking how the game was changed into win by Wesley So. How could he made this game, rook pawn end game, into a winning game? Rook to b8 check, king h7, after rook b7 attacking the pawn, king g6 protecting the pawn, rook a7 again attacking the pawn on a6, king f6, after h4 was played, rook c6, king g2 was played, g5, then after king g3, g into s4, king into s4 was played, king g6, a4, rook c2 attacking the pawn, king g3 protecting the pawn, rook back to c6 defending the pawn, and a6, a5 after king f6, e4. The pawn on a6 is always protected by rook on c6. That's why rook cannot go other than the 6th rank. If it goes anywhere, then rook into a6 is coming up. That's why here black has a trouble of pawn on a6. So he is just worrying of the pawn on a6. He need to protect by rook on the 6th rank. King to g6 was then played. Again f3, king f6 again, king f4. Now white is planning to go somewhere for the center squares, and e5 is coming up again. Yes, that was protected by black, pushing the pawn on e5, king back to g3, king g7, rook a8, king s7, rook d8. Rook is trying to come to the d5 square, king g7, rook back to a8, king h7, king f2, king g7, king g2, rook c2 check, king g3, rook c6, rook a7, king f8 was played, king f2 again, king g7, king g2, rook c2 check, king g3, rook back to c6, rook d7, king f8, and rook d5. Here now, white looks like slightly better because the pawn on e5 is hanging and it need to be protected only by rook on e6. Other than like f6 would lead rook back to d7, and then after pawn on h6 and a6 will always be hanging, and king can go to the h4, and then after h5 and king can capture the pawn on h6. That's why here rook to e6 was played, rook c5, king e8, king h4. He need to be protected by king. Again he need to come back, king f8 was then played, king h5 attacking the pawn on the h6, but it is protected by rook. So here king g7 was played by Vidit Gujrathi, g5 just breaking the pawn structure, and king is trying to come to the g5, then after f5 and e5 would be the next targeting square. H into g5, king into g5 was played, rook h6, then after king h5, king f5 was then played, rook f6 check, king into e5, rook into e5, and again rook c6 was played. The pawn on a6 is now cannot be protected. Rook s3 was played, king d5, rook d3 check, king c5, rook e3, king d4, rook into rook a3, and rook into a6 was then played. At this position, some might be worrying why not rook into a6 was played immediately. That was king d5 in the game, but why not rook into a6 immediately? If rook into a6 would have been played, then rook h5 check might be coming. I thought for a while, then I found out rook h5 might be the move that can make black a little bit easy to go for a draw. After king d4 is the only move that could be played, because if king goes to the d6 square, then rook h6 would immediately lead white to lose this game after rook to h6 and rook into a6. So here after rook, king d4, then f6 could be played, and this position would of course make black a little easy than the move after king d5. After king d5, if rook to h5, then e5 is coming up, and that will make white easy way to go for a win after rook into a6, and then it could be win. We were at king d4, rook a3, then after rook into a6 was played. We're pointing out this, and then after rook a1 was played in the game, and then after Wesley So decided to move the pawn to e5. Pawn was pushed to e5. Let's see how this game then after converted to win. We are going to look at this position now. Soon after this, black played rook to d1 check and king c5, trying to go for b6, and then after a7 and b7. b6 and b7 says that rook can come to the b6, and a6, a7 and a8 would lead white to get a queen and win this game. And after rook to c1 check was played again, king d5 and rook d1 check again, king c6. It's just letting white to go according to his plan. Rook to e1, and its position where black is losing. You all might be thinking how the game was continued and it was converted to win for white. After rook to e1, white played rook b6, giving up the e5 pawn. Then after rook into e5 was played, a6. Simple planning is to a7, and then after a8, if rook comes to the a5, then king is coming to the b7, and then after a7 and a8 queen, that will let immediate win for white. Rook to e7 was played, rook b7 trying to extend, rook e6 check, king b5, again a7 is coming up, rook e5 check, king b6, rook e6 check, king a5, rook e5, then after rook b5 was played, rook again e7, rook c5, king is coming to b6, and then after a7 is coming up now, king b6, then after f5 was played. Here black is trying to draw, pushing up the pawn to f4, then after f3 and f2. However, it's not draw. This is the position where white is winning because of the 6th rank pawn. If you have this position, then you can win. Let's see how Wesley So win this position. Then after a7 was played in the game, rook to e8, and then after king b7, king g5, rook c8, trying to extend. Rook e7 was played, king b8, and then after rook into a7, king into a7, king f4 was then played, king b6. If immediate f4, then also king b6 is coming out. Then after f3, then king c5 is coming up, and if king f4 was played, king b6, d4, then king d4 is coming up. Rook e8 check, king d3, rook f8 attacking the pawn, king e4, then after king c5 was played, f4, king c4, king e3 was played, king c3, and after f3, rook e8 check, king f2, king d2, then after king f1 and king e3, and then black resigned. In this way, Wesley So won. Thank you everyone. If you do like my video, please do subscribe the channel and do not forget to like, share and comment. It was the interesting Rook Endgame. Hope you liked the game. Thank you and bye bye.